Hi guys, good afternoon everybody. My name is Celeste Mangani. I work for KXIP and I'm the CFO of the company. Right now I'm having my 10th anniversary this year for KXIP and nothing. Until now I think you had a lot of presentation related to technical and development. So my purpose here today is to dive into the business strategic planning. So every day we have to make very tough decisions and often it's very hard to make a choice and find the right, let's say, path to take. So I was planning to talk with you today is some tools that we use on business strategic planning that help us make these decisions. Have you ever watched Silicon Valley? Yes? All right. Then I guess you, same as me, heard about SWOT, or at least for me it was the first time that I heard about it. And SWOT basically is a tool that is used on strategic planning when there are critical and very important decisions that needs to be made. And it helps us to understand what's the path that we have to take. So we can use it, for example, if we need to decide if we want to open a new department in our company, if a new product that we are planning to start, it's potentially profitable, or for example, if we need to decide if it's fair to let blame die. But what it is and how to use it. So the definition of SWOT, so SWOT basically is just an acronym of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and is used to evaluate internal and external factors that are affecting our organizations. Often it's very hard to understand what's the difference between strengths and opportunities and weaknesses and threats. So the best way to define them is to understand that basically strengths and weaknesses are part of what is our internal organizational factors. So basically we are talking about our resources, skills, capabilities, and in terms of weaknesses, if we have a lack of capabilities or lack of resources. And for the opportunities and threats are those factors that come from external part of the organization. So market trends, political or economical factor, competitions, and behavior on our customers, and these sort of things. So what is SWOT? So usually SWOT, or before the digital time, it was an actual word that we would divide in 4 sectors, and in each of them we will put the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and we will start put sticky notes on it with these different factors. Nowadays, I guess we do it more on a digital way. And the way to fill in our board is to ask ourselves different questions. So, for example, again, what are our capabilities? What the competition do on their side? What are the benefits that will come from external opportunities, collaborations, partnerships? And once that we fill in this board, basically, we would have our SWOT. So the idea today is basically to, sorry, I have to change my notes. So when we conduct this SWOT analysis, basically we try to make a decision. So we ask ourselves a question, we try to understand if it's good or not to make certain decisions, and following that we do a strategic planning. So for today example, I decided to take basically open source project that is already well established, and we want to decide and make a plan on how to incorporate a company behind it, basically. So this is an example of a few of the elements that we would see in this sort of example. Please remind yourself that the SWOT, we don't need to fill it in with as much as elements and factors as possible, but actually we have to try to keep it very short. So 4, 5, maximum 7 factors in each part of them. Otherwise, it will not be worth it to be done. Is this the end of our SWOT? So usually, yes. Most of the people, when they arrive at this point, they decide, yes, not, we're going to go forward, and that's it. But actually, this is just the first step of the SWOT. It's not the end of it. The next step is to create a matrix or a list. So we take all the factors, all the elements that we analyzed, and we just put it in a list, as you can see here. Let's keep it here for now. We're going to use it later. And then we go to the next analysis. So once that we do the first SWOT, we go to the CAIN framework. So the CAIN framework is another acronym, and this basically means C for correct weaknesses, A for address threats, M for maintain the threats, and the E is for explore or exploit the opportunities. And basically the purpose of this framework is to take all the elements that we found on our SWOT, and we try to create a structure and find a way to approach and address this element with actionable insights that can be useful in our organizational context. So the step 1 is the alignment. So we take all the elements that we find in our SWOT analysis, and we correlate it with the CAIN categories. And then on the step 2, we will do what is called TOEs, and is the interconnection between these different elements. So with the CAIN framework, what we want to do is develop actionable insights. So based on this integration, we try to develop different strategies that help us actually to address these weaknesses, mitigate the threats, maintain the strengths, and exploit all the opportunities that are within our organizational context. It's very important to remember that the plans that we do need to be actionable. So we need to find KPIs that are actually useful in our organization and that are really part and aligned with the goals and the culture of our company. So, for example, in our example, we had the resource constraints. So, as being an open source company, I can imagine that most of our employees and the team is built on engineers and developers. Sorry. So I can imagine that we're going to have some constraints in terms of funds. We're going to have some constraints in terms of roles in the company that are going to be missing. So one of the action that we can do in this situation, for example, is either seeking funding and be able to recruit additional contributor and additional people to be part of our company, or for example, we can outsource to experts in these roles that we don't want to have in our company. So, for example, are we doing XIP? I'm not, but they are all engineers. So, for example, the part that are related to accounting, marketing, HR, or legal are outsourced to actually expert people that can do this for us. In terms of threats, we have to adapt to fight these threats. So, for example, one of the threats that we found in our SWOT was related to the competitive landscape. In this case, so we want to adapt to the competitive landscape. We cannot just fight against it. So one of the ways that we can do and a strategy that we could use is to be able to diversify from them. So find some unique features that we can have, use cases that we can use, and have a community engagement, especially if the competition is proprietary. So we have the strengths related to the community that can help us to position ourselves and making ourselves help us to create a solution that is competitive and distinctive from the competition and be a solution in the market. In terms of the positive side of it, so we have to maintain our strengths. So we have to find a way to exploit the strengths that we realize that we have. So, for example, we know that the open source nature and the community itself, it's a strength in our company in the open source. So one way, of course, is to find a way to maintain the community and be able to exploit the innovation that the open source community can help us bring forward. And at last, we have to explore the opportunities. So being innovative and being part of the future of the development, of course, these help us in encouraging the experimentation, having feedback from the market, and help us in embracing the new technologies that are going to be the future in our world and help us in taking the direction where we want to go. So now is the end of our SWOT. Sorry, not yet. So once that we arrive here, we found what are the factors that are part of our organization. We found what are the actions that we can take and help us build the strategy, but not yet. We found what is going to be the actual strategic planning. To make a real strategic planning, we have to take it a step forward and start doing the interconnection between all the factors. And the interconnection is done with a third analysis that is called TOES, which is just the opposite of SWOT, not the fingers of your feet. And basically, the TOES analysis is meant to take our strengths and opportunities, our opportunities and weaknesses, our threats and strengths, and our threats and weaknesses. And this one really help us create a strategic initiative to capitalize on those strengths, those opportunities, and help us in mitigate all the risk and threats that we can find that are part of our organization. And with this, we can create those KPIs that can help us make a real planning. So let's see in a second how. Do you remember I told you at the beginning that once that you do the SWOT analysis, you have to create a matrix of those factors? So this is why, because at this point, we are going to take this list with the codes and we are going to start interconnect them together. So for example, we have on the strengths and opportunity strategy, where we're going to take the strength of the R&D capabilities and the open source nature and community, putting in together with the collaboration and partnership and the global reach to go and do a market expansion. So this is something, for example, that we do at QXIP together with Mythico, with our partnership and the community. We create this collaboration that helps us to drive the market demand. Then we go on the WO strategy. So we take the weaknesses together with the opportunity. So at this point, what we do, we try to see what are the opportunities that are from the outside world that can help us mitigate what we found our organizational weaknesses. So for example, we try to diversify our portfolio and be able to go in a niche market so that we can actually be competitive against the competition, or be able to take advantage of our resources together with the collaboration and reach global market and an expansion. Then we go to the strengths and threats strategy. So again, same thing. We start looking at the factors that are related to our strengths, and we see how we can use them to mitigate and limit the threats that can come from the external factors. So, for example, we here took some very stupid examples, but it was just to make a point. So we can create a team of legal experts that can help us to save our intellectual property. And then we go to the last one, which is the weaknesses together with the threats. Usually this one is the hardest one because we are talking about the two negative factors that are related to our organization. So, for example, we can mitigate our resources constraints by trying to position our project and product in a strategic way and using the niche market and be able to fight and be competitive in the market. At last, as always, we need to always do monitoring and a reviewing of our planning. So creating the action and creating a plan, that's not enough. So we need to stay flexible, be able to adapt, and continually monitoring the result of our plan to be sure that, of course, where the things goes well, we continue on that way. When the things are not going right, we need to be able to be flexible and adapt our strategy, especially fighting the external condition, market changes, economical, political factors that come from outside can change the way how things work. So we need to be able to adapt to that. Just at last, these are some of the benefits of this integration of the different analyses. So doing this type of analysis and planning can help us to enhance our understanding of our organization itself. So what are the things where we are good at and we have strengths? What are the things that we don't do well or that we are lacking? Have an holistic approach that help us develop these strategies, of course, once again, to mitigate the threats and the weaknesses that we have and exploit and explore the different opportunities and strengths that we have, create a competitive advantage and position the organization for long-term success, as well as create planning that can help us manage the risk that come from the outside, identify what are those opportunities that can come from the collaboration, partnership, and the outside world, together with create a good communication and an alignment of the efforts inside the team, create a strategic planning that can help us in the long term, as well as, of course, being flexible and adapting to have continuous improvement. Just a couple of tips related to this implementation. It is very important that we have an involvement of the leadership when we do this type of analysis, as well as a cross-functional collaboration. So different departments, so different teams should participate in this sort of analysis so that can bring us the different point of views. The continuous assessment, as we said, with the monitoring and the adaptation that we need to do time by time. Training and education, people that participate to this sort of analysis should understand what are the goals and what's the meaning of doing this strategic planning. Create KPIs that are actionable and that can actually help us reach goals. And as well, the flexibility and adaptation, which is nowadays very important. Just a little summary. So as we said, the first step is creating the SWOT. Then we have to do the CAME framework. Then we move forward to the TOS, and at last we do the monitoring. And now you can SWOT wherever you want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Celeste. So are there any questions for Celeste? Hi, Celeste. Thank you for your presentation. I have a question because when we go to the business schools and they give us all these frameworks, there's always there are a couple of things. The first one is that sometimes these kind of analyses are a bit subjective, and other times also when we learn the kind of companies that succeed, they go kind of against the trend. So it's this kind of contradiction. So my question is, you think in a company, or maybe you can tell us how it went in your case, like there's only one person doing the SWOT analysis, or it's something that it's created by collaboration, like, for example, creating a meeting involving other teams and everybody discuss it, or it's just run by one person and that person brings out the conclusions? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So yes, I understand your question. It makes a point. So no, it should not be done only by one person, but it should be a cross-functional team effort. So everybody should be involved because it's very important that you get the different point of view from the different departments. So for example, in our case, I am the CFO, CEO of the company. I do not understand everything that is related to, for example, the technical part of our products and the engineering side of it. So for sure, if I just do a SWOT myself, it would be just a point of view and one side of what the strategic planning should involve. So absolutely is important that also the other people are involved and different roles inside the company participate to this sort of analysis to have a very comprehensive point of view.
Other questions?
Hi, thanks for the talk. So my question is, so we're a very small team, so it's always difficult to, for anyone to dedicate to any one project, and it sounds like a full SWOT analysis might be very, intensive as an undertaking. So I suppose the question is there a light approach to this so they can be, still, get the benefits of an analysis without being able to handle it in a smaller team?
Sure. So this should not take a long time to do. So it's not sort of analysis or effort that can take months. So it's something that with one meeting should be done. The three of these analysis should be done. So not remaining only on the first step. So as I was saying in the beginning, usually when you do the SWOT, you just do the first step. You create the board, you say, okay, we have more positive things than negative things, so we go forward. But going forward with what? How? So the point of doing these three analyses is that at the end of the meeting, you should be able to have a few KPIs, and those are going to be the goals that you have to follow on your planning. So you can create KPIs related to sales or, I don't know, the kind of revenue that you want to reach, the type of collaboration that you want to do, and those should be the things that from then on you're going to monitor. So you're going to see, okay, between now and 6 months, this collaboration actually took us somewhere, yes, not? And then from there you can be flexible and adapt and see if it's if you have a reason to continue on that planning, or if you have to change something to reach your actual goals.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thanks. Last questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Celeste. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all.